Okay, it says process variation enables equilibrium. What do you mean variation and equilibrium?
Yes, one of the interesting aspects of this corollary is it often flies in the face of a lot of, let's say, Six Sigma thinking. But what it really says is that if I have a series of processes that are all interconnected, then if one is varying to a great degree and I tighten the tolerances of the next one, it's going to end up with a lot of problems. So how much variation it's got to be for the entire process, not just the individual components of it. If we were to take where we want minimal process variation, it would be, again, back to Six Sigma, it would be an example if we produce the same thing many, many times. So if we produce millions of things, of course we're going to want minimal process variation because we're doing the same thing time and time again. On the other hand, if I'm asking my process to do a wider range of processing, then at that point I need more variation in the process because you cannot optimize it for any one factor within that. So rather than just say we want the minimum variation, what we have to really, what this process law says, is we've got to get the right level of variation to maximize and keep the process in equilibrium.
A good example of that, Jim, is in the auto industry. You can have a 1% error in a lot of different steps in making a automobile, and you would think, well, 1% error, that shouldn't be a problem. But by the time you add up all these variations, it could be 10% error, and doors don't close and levers don't work, even though the variation in each individual process was small. When you add up all those variations, it becomes actually very large.
And another example would be the difference between a specialist doctor and a general practitioner. A specialist doctor you go to, that person is an expert on whatever the disease or whatever the condition that the patient has. And often that specialist can just almost look at a person because of their experience and be able to prescribe what the treatment is. A general practitioner, on the other hand, can come up against a wide range of variables. So that person must be more, in our terms here, have wider variation of knowledge. And rather than being an expert in any one, they have to have much wider. So again, when we look at our processes, some of them will be like the specialist and some will be like our general practitioner. And the key is not to say that we want Six Sigma universally throughout our organization, but put it in selectively where it is going to yield high results. And frankly, don't use higher variation in other processes where we need our generalist.
Okay? Well, so we'd like to thank you for listening to our video on business process management, and we welcome you back to our next video where we finish up the last process